About Beer receives underwriting support from Full Steam Brewing. They understand the importance of independent journalism in the beer space, and their support helps fund original work. Learn how you can affordably support journalists by visiting allaboutbeer.com/support.
Welcome to Drink Beer, Think Beer, the podcast that gets to the bottom of every pint. I'm John Holl. In a minute, it's a conversation with Brittany Barrie and Jim Barrie of BarrieHaus Brewing in Tampa, Florida. If you love lagers, and of course you do, you'll love this episode. Two quick event notices. First up, All About Beer is once again thrilled to be participating in the Little Beers Festival. Hosted by Goodwood Brewing in the charming town of Duluth, Georgia, tickets are now on sale for the March 29th event. Pay attention to that date. If you're listening to this before March 29th, that means you still have time to get to Duluth, Georgia for the Little Beers 5 Festival. It is honestly one of the best beer fests in the country. You should get your tickets now before it sells out, and it will. Go to goodwoodbrewing.com/events. Also, this summer, All About Beer is headed to the Black Fly Beer Camp at Great Camp Sagamore in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. Join us and a host of breweries for a weekend of tastings, meals, education, and fellowship. I'm going to be there. M. Sauter's going to be there. Nate Schweber's going to be there, plus a few other people. So go visit sagamore.org to get your tickets. I hope you'll consider supporting All About Beer. There's a number of ways that you can do it, through our Patreon, through our underwriting, and through advertising. The only way that we can continue to bring you original shows like this, or the All About Beer podcast, and articles on our site is through your support. Please go visit allaboutbeer.com/support to learn more. And thanks to this episode's sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Stomp Stickers. Stomp is a proud member of the Brewers Association that produces a wide variety of printed brewery products, such as beer labels, keg collars, coasters, beer boxes, and much more. Stomp's website features an easy-to-use digital design tool, low quantity orders, fast turnaround times, and free domestic shipping. Visit stompstickers.com and use code ThinkBeer for 15% off of your first order. A few weeks back, I was in Tampa for the city's beer week, and before getting to the festivities, I spent some time wandering around breweries. Near the top of my list was BarrieHaus, an all-lager brewery that I've tasted on blind panels, at festivals, and always hear good things about from brewers I trust. After a few hours inside the tap room, drinking the lagers where they were made, I got it. It's thoughtful and welcoming, and the kind of brewery that shows the promise of craft beer, even in these uncertain times. So I was glad to get co-owners Brittany and Jim Barrie on the show this week to talk about their cool little spot and their latest addition. Here's our conversation. Thanks to you both for being here this week. I really appreciate it. I had the good fortune of walking through your doors just a couple weeks ago, and it was a visit a long time in the making. I've been having your beers on blind panels, at festivals held by folks that I really hold in high regard. So if you're there, that means that those people really like you and that you're doing good things. And then, everybody that I talk to, if I'm going to the Tampa area or if it comes up, it's like, BarrieHaus comes up like very, very early on in the conversations. And so I kind of want to unpack some of that, of how you both got to this point where your lagers are well known, synonymous with quality, and there's I guess a certain brewery crew that you all run with, and good finds good, great finds great, that kind of thing. Was lagers the original intent for the brewery? Was this in the beginning? Okay.
Yep. We really just wanted to primarily on lager beer, and that's what we set out to do. That's what I'm personally passionate about, and we just wanted to bring it to fruition in the Tampa Bay area, which is where me and my partner June, he grew up. And so,
but also thanks for having us on, John. We're really happy you're finally able to come and to the brewery in Tampa. But we we looked around quite a bit before we started the brewery. We were based in Gainesville at the time, and Tampa Bay, which includes Tampa and St. Pete, a little bit Clearwater, is really where, I think the best beer is coming from in the state of Florida, where a lot of the interesting the breweries are and brewers are. Not to say that there aren't great brewers elsewhere.
Well, but you just kind of did.
Yeah.
I mean, what makes I can't say I know much about Gainesville outside of Onion headlines. What is it about Tampa
We
Bay?
love Gainesville, and we tried to open a brewery in Gainesville. Could not find the right space. Walked in and out of 50 different locations in the small town of Gainesville. The people in Gainesville really support the breweries there. And Jim brewed for First Magnitude, and they do incredible stuff up there. So we really wanted to be there, but when that wasn't a possibility, when we needed to get things moving, we looked all around the state of Florida and really settled back in Tampa, where June and Jim are from, because that's where we saw the beer scene going in the state of Florida.
And I think there's a high concentration of quality breweries around the area, and I think that's what you're getting at. That not that there's not great breweries all around the state, but there's a higher concentration in Tampa and Tampa Bay area.
And I was impressed with that, banging around for the couple of days that I was in town for Beer Week this year, of just every place that I went had something that they were really proud of, and a bunch of things that they were really proud of. And it was diverse styles and fun styles. And, even running into some Rauk beers along the way. And, it was a more mature beer scene than I remember it being 12 years ago when I was last in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were looking in, though, who did you look to as sort of setting some of those standards in the way that you felt comfortable with, or that that you admired and wanted to join the ranks of?
Well, I think our first collaboration, it was like only a couple weeks when we were open. Really, our first collaboration was over at Green Bench.
Yeah.
Feel very strongly about the passion for the product that Chris and Nate and the team have created over there, and day in, day out, they care about the beer. Those are some of closest friends down here.
They take a similar approach that we do, and they're making some of the highest quality stuff, in my opinion, in the state, in a broad spectrum of styles as well.
There's also a lot of people down here stem from CCB.
Yep. So
most of the breweries, the brewers down here stemmed from Cigar City, and so that's actually been pretty widespread at this point. But we've respected CCB for a long time.
And most of the brewers that are in these other craft breweries are from CCB itself, which makes sense because they were kind of one of the first in the game,
Yeah. So when you guys started putting the idea together then for the brewery and saying, okay, Tampa seems like the place to be. And Jim, you're saying lagers are your passion and what you wanted to do. Being a lager brewery, I know it's nothing new in this country. It's what built the modern beer industry, but in the craft space, there really are still only a handful of you that are as dedicated to lagers as you all are. Was that something, like a niche that you saw filling? Is it just like you didn't want to mess around with other stuff? Like, was it just?
Yeah, no, thankfully it's what I was passionate about, but also, no one was really doing much lager beer down here except Chris, really, at Green Bench.
Right. But he's also doing other stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's not what he's leading with. And we really just wanted to open and fill that niche. And by chance, now it's cool to make lager beer. Yeah. But even when we opened, it wasn't really that way, to be honest with you. People thought we were nuts for what we were trying to do.
Did people actually say that?
Well, if you look at
in so many words,
I won't name names, but and they're friends in the industry that have told me that they're like, man, I can't believe that I was worried about you when you started because you were leading with lager beer.
And honestly, if you know anything about the financials of, of how long a lager beer sits in the tank and how fast you can turn a beer to produce a profit, it's long. From the time period of purchasing the raw materials to actually either sending the beer in distro or putting into your tap room to make a profit off of that. It's a much longer process than ales. So having 90% lager beers on tap is not
it's not the sane choice.
Not the same choice.
So let's talk about that then. When you're building out the brewery and you're thinking about capacity and you're thinking about lagering times and you're thinking about, something that your friends are saying might be a little bit nuts. Let's take all of that into account, but starting firstly with like the lead times, and it's not like you can just turn an IPA in 5 days, like some folks do. What were those early days like, getting ready to open, and then when you opened, and then maintaining a schedule from them? Because I mean, you're thinking so far out. I mean, in journalism we call it the long lead times, but lager wise, I mean, you're constantly like just for context, right? We're recording this late March. Where is your lager mind and your lager calendar right now in your head, Jim, or on paper?
Right now, we're finishing all our summer beers are in the tank, and we're about to start brewing a ton of Martzen and a few more months fest beer as well. So we got to stay on top of that,
So how did you guys manage that in those early days as well? Because I imagine when folks are opening, and I've had enough conversations with folks, like, those first couple of weeks are critical, and the lead up to it is tense and scary. How did you navigate that with lager beer?
That is scary. And I think COVID threw a huge wrench in all this, right?
Right.
We had plenty of capacity for the first 2 years, really.
We opened 3 months before we were shut down for COVID. So we were rocking and rolling and producing beer, and then all of a sudden our beer was not out in distribution. Our beer was not being packaged in cans. So all of a sudden we had no way of getting our beer to anyone.
Filling crowlers.
Yep. Beer. Yeah.
But
besides that,
I think we were appropriately sized. We're not, I mean, we can probably produce around 2,000 barrels a year. It's not like we're big. And we're happy with that.
But in those early days, how were you managing? I mean, even with COVID and everything, or was COVID sort of the, I don't want to say blessing, because it certainly wasn't, but to help you kind of dial in things and figure out production schedules and all that without the world breathing down your neck?
Yeah, I know what you mean by blessing, because, obviously you're not trying to rush it. You don't need to rush anything. You can try to dial your processes. So yeah, there was some benefit to that.
But I would say we're brewing on a 10-barrel system. So we're brewing 10 barrels at a time. And if you don't have anyone to sell that to, I mean, you can't, we can brew a little bit less than 10 barrels, but not less than 5?
Yeah.
Right.
10 barrels. So,
and that's what we had to do. We're brewing 5-barrel batches,
and then,
there's no beer, nowhere to go during that time.
Yeah.
Dark times.
Yeah. So how did you guys, having only been open for a few months then at this point, and, having all of this capacity, how did you guys move beer? How did you communicate to folks?
We stood out on the sidewalk and sold crowlers to anyone that rode their bicycle by us.
Is that true?
It is true. We sat out in our, beer garden that wasn't a fully formed beer garden at the time, but how it looks today. But at the time we sat out there, we turned all the air conditioning off. We shut down our big walk-in cooler in the back. It just had our tap room walk-in on. We did.
You were hand selling beer to passersby. You guys were the crazy folks in the yard saying, "Hey, come drink lager."
twirling our shirt above our head, trying to get people to come through the door.
We were able to, in state of Florida, we were able to open up a little bit with, in May of that year with a restaurant license and sold some and spacing everyone out. And we had outside space. So we were able to open up the outside a little bit, which was a big advantage for us. And we started getting people back into the tap room safely, spaced and masked and QR codes and the whole deal. And people felt like it was a really safe space to come to. So we did really do well with that aspect, and people came to us over other places that didn't have the space to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's good that you all had it. I talked to folks maybe a year after COVID where, again, when the world kind of got a little bit more quiet, a little bit more contemplative, brewers spent time thinking about their recipe or thinking about their business model or thinking about their plan or thinking about, what they wanted the next 5 years, to look like. So in sort of that vein, here we are 5 years later. Jim, were you thinking about your beers? Like, did it afford you the time to sit back and be like, okay, I like this, I don't like this. Maybe I want to try to brew one of these, maybe I want to work on, like, were you able to spend some time letting your technical side and your creative side and your just sense of time have run of the brew house?
I think maybe a little bit. I mean, during that time, it really was just like, what can we do to get, survive? And it was pretty grim for us, really.
I'd say more recently, you've had time to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say that we're 5 years in, and we were lucky enough to open a second tap room last year, at the end of last year, and we have a really good team in place. So we are less hands-on in the tap room than we were in survival mode of let's fix things, let's make things work without, paying many other people to do that. So I think, I don't know, all the time you're reading and
yeah, it's true,
upping your game. And
I feel like I have more time actually in the last couple of years than the beginning, to be very honest.
Okay.
We also had our first daughter that was born a month after the brewery opened. So that was
busy.
That's a thing.
Its own busyness.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I was going to ask the same question about the business though, of, if not the beers, but also getting that restaurant license and then working on the outdoor space and, having time to sort of, figure out, what you wanted the brewery to be when the world reopened. Like, was that extra time valuable?
That for
sure. To get to where you are now? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For the tap room. And I mean, our outside space was a parking lot essentially when we opened. And then we completely, I mean, you saw it, right? We have a green beer garden now, and before it was literally looked like 5 parking spots.
Well, we were balls to the wall trying to get the place open. So 6 months of renovation and just working as hard as we possibly could to open. And so we look at pictures from our opening day. We had, our 2 weeks before we opened, we were training our team at the time, and our tap wall wasn't fully installed. We didn't have our bar top on. And we were just telling them, like, don't worry, it's going to all work out. Everything, the lights will be on, the tap, beer will be pouring through these faucets. So we worked really hard and pushed the timeline as much as we could to be open. So I guess it did afford us a little bit of time to really piece together and visualize what it is we wanted the place to truly look like. Because we did go as fast as we possibly could.
So when you guys opened up, right, what were the beers that you wanted to put out there? What were the the quote unquote flagships or the regular offerings that you wanted?
Yeah, so we opened with let's see if I get this right. Tampa Export, our German export lager. Family Tradition, our Vienna lager. Big Pluck and Pills, our German pills. Endless Zest, which is an orange zest American lager.
That's fun.
And the Dark, which is our dark. Those
No,
are
and Unconscionable.
and a West Coast IPA. I did it before everyone
IPA.
else. Okay, it was called Unconscionable, and no one would buy it.
We
I mean,
we
there might
called
be
it
some
a
people in
West
San
Coast
Diego who.
I know. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
We opened with calling it a West Coast lager, and boy, did that not sell. And it was great.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it like a cold IPA? So it was
Yeah,
lagered, or
essentially, yes. Yes.
Okay.
It was essentially a cold IPA. Yes. 7.5%. Amarillo, Citrus, Simcoe, all pills.
neat? And
Yep.
it didn't sell?
No,
Oh,
not at all.
Because nobody wants to drink a hoppy lager. They want to drink a cold IPA.
Broke my heart.
I mean, when I think of Florida, it's no, everybody wants to drink a 12% coconut stout, but
Yeah.
which I still don't fully understand. But so of those, what stuck around?
All of them.
And all of them. Okay.
Except Unconscionable, which was
Okay.
that lager. Yeah.
Yeah. Has there been a beer that has, I don't know, risen to the top, or one that could be considered a flagship?
Yeah, I would say Tampa Export is our flagship and is probably 90% of our distribution. And it's
Damn.
one of the top sellers in the tap room. And then Bublina, which is our Czech pills. And that's
Right.
by
Which
far,
I was drinking with you. Yeah.
yeah, which is by far our number one seller in both of our locations.
What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. It's kind of like I like to think it's pretty good, first of all, but
I'd hope so, but yeah.
It's just the timing is right. You know, it got gold at World Beer Cup, and it's like I guess weird to say, but it's people are starting to understand what the style is, and it's a little bit hypey, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it might be right place, right time.
Yeah.
And it's not, we've had the beer out for several years, and I think since World Beer Cup, and we pushed marketing as much as we could.
Yeah.
But since World Beer Cup, it has outperformed all the other beers by a lot.
2-1, actually, pretty much
In Tampa?
on
Yeah.
tap and on draft. Yeah.
So you guys got an actual boost from World Beer Cup, from a World Beer Cup win.
We
yes,
got really lucky
for that beer. Yeah.
We got really lucky when we did we won for Vienna a couple years ago. It's one of our flagships. It's a fan favorite. So I think the fact that it's like a flagship and it's easy to drink, that helps a lot versus it being maybe an obscure one-off beer.
Yeah.
But you never know, because I've seen it the other way too, you know?
I think there's a general increase in consumer knowledge too about lager beer. And I think around the entire industry, the quality of it is going up and the education is getting there.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how you all communicate your lagers to the people who walk through your door, and then, hopefully you're seeing it out on distro as well. How you've been able to make that connection, share that education in a very quick way, that has seemed to forge a pretty deep connection with the folks who are regularly coming through. Like, what's the BarrieHaus approach to lager education?
I'll tell you what I think it is, and maybe you can tell me too, because you were here, so I'm not, you have to tell me what sticks. But it was definitely, it is it's in our top 3, like, morals and values of the brewery, to educate our guests on the qualities of lager beer, and the distinctions about it, because it is unique. It is a good selling piece. People want to know more, then they get more invested in what they're drinking. So as soon as we opened, we realized that education was going to be a huge part of selling this niche. And, props to our whole team when we opened up, and we had Evan Chavez, our taproom manager for years, took it so seriously to educate our front of house team on the way to pour beers. We have 6 Lucre faucets in the front of house, how we're pouring beer, how we're talking to guests, making hospitality the number one thing that they experience when they walk through the doors. So it was a huge team effort. We host beer schools. We've hosted it twice, and it's a really fun, like, Saturday class that's got 4 or 5 sessions where people are coming in and learning different sections of aspects of lager beer and our beers. We have it printed on the menus as far as, how we pour beers and what beers you can ask for and what it should look like and why we do it. So a big piece of our marketing and our tap room guest experience is dedicated to lager education.
That's cool to hear. Yeah, I mean, there's something about, I mean, one, the beer tastes really good, but it's also in a comfortable setting. It's not pretentious. It's not precious. It's not, there's something as for me as an outsider, like, just very comfortable very early on, and just sort of like a big communal space, reminiscent of German and Czech beer halls.
That's great to hear, because that's what we're going for. Is beer should be approachable. Beer should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we try not to be pretentious about any of our education, because we don't need to be.
Yeah. So Jim, before we were, you mentioned that you have a little bit more time maybe these days to be thinking about recipes and thinking about, where you want things to go. So where have you been putting those efforts lately? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish beer wise in the, near term and longer term?
That's a good question. We've been messing around with sourgate a little bit, seeing if that'll take us anywhere, and we're using that exclusively for Hellas now, and that's been fun little experiment that we've done about 4 or 5 times, so it's pretty new for us. And we've been trying to dial in we try to krausen all the beers that we can if the timing is right, or else we'll spund it otherwise. But if we're able to, we'll try to krausen everything we have. So that's been fun, and I think I really like the results of that. We've been doing that for a long time. And of course, there's unlimited ways to do decoction, so that's also something that's just never ending, trying to figure out your own system and how it works, and getting the beer that you want out of it. And that can consume years of your time trying to figure out. It's great. I love it. It's fun.
Yeah. So what was the idea behind the second location? I mean, aside from just like, oh, we should have a second location. Like, I've talked to some folks who have done it, and it's like, yeah, has always been the plan. And then I talked to other folks, and it's like, oh, it was just an opportunity that came our way. And then, I talked to other folks, and they're like, we don't know what we were thinking, and my God, somebody please save us. So talk to me about the second location.
Yeah, that actually, we always had that in mind, actually, since the beginning. And we were just looking for it's got to be the right opportunity. And we were talking to our friends who own Escape Brewing, very beginning. I mean, one of the first beer fests we did, if I remember correctly, and they're actually their location is where we are in now for our second location, and they moved to a bigger spot. And it just so happened to work out that they called us 4.5 years later and they're like, hey, we're moving. You want to take over our spot? And within a week, we had the lease signed. So, yeah. Yep.
Sorry, Brittany, were you going to jump in there?
Just thinking, it's always been part of our business plan, and that's really because of the just the dollars. We're in we're in a 3-tier distribution state, so we have to use a distro or wholesaler to send our beer, and they're taking about 30% of the margin. So it's so much higher revenue if you're able to sell it across your bar than it is in distribution. Becomes such a volume game. So right off the bat, if the opportunity presented itself, that was part of our plan. And people are like, oh, well, when are you going to open a third location? You should do it over here. You should do it over here. I'm like, it's hard. It is not easy to maintain excitement and communication and everybody, moving at the same speed. So it's taken a lot, but it's definitely worth it. We have our name carried us a little bit in the new location, but it is farther from downtown Tampa. So people up there really aren't familiar with us as much unless they're beer nerds.
30 minutes north.
45 minutes, 30, 45.
45 minutes north.
Yeah.
Reference.
Okay.
So some people think it's in North Georgia. If you live in downtown Tampa, they'll say it's North Georgia. If you live up in Trinity, they'll say downtown Tampa is Miami. So it's a totally different group of people.
Maybe geography should be taught in your schools. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of things that should be taught in our schools. Yeah, so it's been really fun because our team up in our new location has its own vibe, and they're excited and they're able to push this the lager education out to a whole new group of people that are excited about it too. And we've been able to balance that really well. Our team in Tampa is really taken that under their wing and given them a ton of feedback. And we're working out the kinks, and it's working out pretty well.
I mean, one of the things that craft has always tried not to be is cookie cutter or corporate or Applebee's or a one size fits all kind of thing. So when you say that it kind of has its own vibe, this new location, I imagine that's something that you all wanted to foster, where it's not just BarrieHaus North and it feels like the original location.
I know it sounds a little bit silly, but how you can go into a Starbucks, you can go into another Starbucks, you can go into another Starbucks, and they offer the same thing, and you can expect a level of hospitality and service at every single one, but they feel a little different. They have their unique qualities. And so that's kind of the idea, is that people know when they go into a BarrieHaus location, they're going to get great service and friendly service and excellent high quality beers. And beyond that, maybe there are differences.
I like that. So with everything that you all have done now, 5 years in, have you started to map out the future, or is it just build up what you have now?
It's a tough question. The question really is how do you measure success?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do you measure success? How do you measure happiness for yourself? And that's an ongoing question and struggle that I personally struggle with. I think about quite a bit. I don't know, Jim, if you have any thoughts on that. I don't know if I have a great answer for you, John.
I'm shocked the greatest planner I know doesn't have an answer about planning. So I'm still taken aback by that response.
I want everyone to be happy. Our team works really hard. We are able to grow when we can. And so, but keeping everyone in mind is really, really important to me, and I think to all of the all of us owners.
Nice.
So it's hard to answer that question. You know, where will we be in 5 years? Well, the state of the brewing industry is different than it was 5 years ago.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
There's as many openings as there are closings. You know, we're growing at a rate of 1%. So it's a different industry.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Okay.
But we'll be still making lager, hopefully, 5 years later.
Yeah, we'll
I
be still
hope-
making lager. I guess the question is, you know, how do you want to grow, right? Do you want to, we're 1,800-ish barrels probably this year. And do you want to be 5,000 barrels next year? No, I don't see that working.
Oh gosh, yeah, I wouldn't.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But people do that. But
That's not
it's not our
what
approach.
we want. Yeah.
Yeah. We want to sell as many beers as we can across the bar and yeah, grow when it feels right.
Well, it looked like mission accomplished when I was there that afternoon of just the line and the camaraderie and I mean, it feels like you all are doing everything right. So it was cool to see in person.
And thankfully you came during beer week. So the vibes were there too. It was up here.
So before I let you go, I want to ask you about the Green Door question and the premises at the beginning of the pandemic 5 years ago. My wife and I rewatched the TV show The Good Place. And in the final season, they introduced this concept of a green door where the characters can walk through it and be anywhere they want, doing whatever they want. So it got me thinking that if we had a green door on our plane of existence and this conversation could end or ended, and you could walk through a green door and be at any pub or any brewery anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? Who would you want to be with? And what would you like to be drinking? And you can each answer this question.
That's so hard. And
then you get to go first.
No way. Jim.
I'd have to say, yeah, open the door and be in Ondex in Bavaria.
Oh man.
In the beer garden. Probably with a pork knuckle. That would be amazing. And a special hell with definitely my wife, definitely my kids, and probably my whole family, honestly. And just taking it all in. That sounds wonderful to me.
I like that. Brittany?
I was thinking a similar answer. That's what's hard. We went on our honeymoon in Germany and Belgium. We were more into Belgian beers at the time and brought home 65 stupid beers in our luggage. And then we made a stopover in Germany when I was like, Jim's gonna love Germany. He's never been there. Let's go there. And we made a couple stops and it was, life-changing, honestly. So that was gonna be my answer.
You gotta pick something else.
Oh, no one else.
That's fine. I like it.
Where else in Gainesville we had crazy? I would say, I mean, I don't know. It's silly to say our garage in Gainesville, but we had some epic times when we started brewing more and more beers, and it would be quite the hangout for people to come over and drink,
That's a good answer.
Free beers. We were like, are we really good at brewing beers, or does everyone just really like to drink our garage beers?
Your free beer, yeah.
Yeah. And he started entering competitions and other people liked his beer too. So it was a little bit more validating than our friends were. But those are fabulous days. And we had great beer shares too. So I would say that could be a fun time to go back to and open the green door and be around our buds in Gainesville.
I like that. It's also nice just having the best bar in your town for your friends. I feel like that's a great brewer trait. 9 times out of 10, I'd always rather go drink at somebody's house than out at a bar somewhere because the beer selection is going to be a lot of fun. I'm sorry that I'm not going to see you guys this weekend at Little Beers.
You will see our taproom manager and great friends. Yes. So Bethany, say hi to her and Dan. And I am so bummed that we're not going to be there either. But we are going to do a beer dinner up at Good Word in April.
Oh, so fun. Those are always
Oh, I'm
Todd
so
and
looking forward
team
to it.
know how to
Yep.
do those dinners really, really well. And you get your picture on the chalkboard, which is fun.
Ooh, exciting.
Oh, what a great
Um,
place that is too.
That's a great place.
it's yeah. But I am looking forward to drinking your beers this weekend when I'm there. So, and I hope everybody else who's going does the same thing as well. But really, thanks for the hospitality a couple weeks ago. Thanks for being on the show this week. Thanks for making cool lager beer and doing what you all are doing. And I hope we can clink glasses in person soon enough.
Absolutely.
Thanks, John. Thank you too, man.
Thanks for coming by,
Yeah,
and
thanks for stopping by.
we appreciate it very much. Cheers.
Questions, comments, guest suggestions? It's easy. Email me. It's John Holl, JOHNHOLL @allaboutbeer.com. I do my best to respond to every email. And the only way we can keep doing this show, our other shows, and pay writers for original articles is with your help. Please visit allaboutbeer.com/support to learn more. Also, when you go to the website, you can check out the podcast page, the merch page, and read great new content, as well as our archives, which go all the way back to 1979. All About Beer's on social media, all of the various platforms at All About Beer. And before we run, here's a word from this week's sponsor. Don't stop at just stickers and labels. Stomp Stickers has everything you need for festival season. From canopy tents to flags to table covers and banners, it's all waiting for you on their website. Check out their brewery section for the full lineup. Don't forget, All About Beer has that podcast channel. Search and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Steal This Beer has new episodes every Monday, and the BYO Nano podcast comes out on the 15th of every month. As for this show, Nate Weber does the music, Jeff Quinn designed our logo, and I'm John Holl. New episodes release every Wednesday, and that's when I'll be back again to drink beer and to think beer.